What a beautiful sound, the sound of the UEFA Champions League music, providing greater resonance as we get closer to crowning the 2022-2023 champions. Fierce city rivals Inter and AC Milan with a glorious chance of getting to the championship match, facing off in the second leg of their semi-final tie on Tuesday. Seven-time champions AC Milan were looking to overcome a 2-0 first leg deficit to get to their first final in 16 years. But that was not to be. Inter coming away with a 1-0 victory on the day for a 3-0 aggregate scoreline.
Italian football needed something like this, you feel, in the Champions League. Inter in the last four for the first time since claiming what was their third European Cup in 2009-2010 under Jose Mourinho. Thiao's up there as well. And then, well, headed by Acerbi, and Inter trying to get into the sort of stride they showed very early on, and worth a crack. And the goalkeeper's backpedaling here, needed heading away to safety in the end. 10 minutes gone in the second leg. Diaz can't get there. Crowd would think it was going to be a foul against Hernandez, but Tonali's playing on and the referee's letting that happen. Mkhitaryan. Diaz, oh, he was wheeling away to celebrate. Di Marco. Dzeko's on the move. And here's Dumfries. Teeing it up for Barella. Similar sort of chance to the one at the other end. Inter moving to recapture the fluency with which they cut Milan apart in that first half. Mkhitaryan was part of that. He goes again. It's still set up. Nicely set up by Dzeko. But not good enough to get into the starting 11 for this. He'd love to be playing, of course. Now here's Leao. Slipped by Darmian. Is this a moment for Milan? Leao. Well,
it may have hit him on the arm. He bundles Darmian away, then he goes past the next player. Acerbi comes out, beats him for pace down the outside. He's very unlucky.
Takes his place in the middle. Çalhanoğlu with the ball in, and it's just about kept out by Maignan.
And defend this really deeply. Not sure who gets the touch. Was it Dzeko?
I think it was.
And it's a great save, great reaction. Just gets enough on it with that right arm.
No one picking up Bastoni. It's towards the near post. It's over him. Barella. Lautaro Martinez wants to get his shot away, and does.
Milan to put Inter under a bit of pressure, get the crowd edgy.
Gosens. Lukaku. Lautaro. Gosens almost tackling Lukaku. Back for Lautaro, and that's surely settled it now. It was clever, Stuart, how he stayed onside. There were a couple of occasions where he might have got trapped, and there's his reward. And Inter surely heading for Istanbul.
Well, the first touch is what makes it for him. They weren't having a great season. They were losing to some of the weaker sides in Serie A. And they've won several games on the trot.
As Martinez got the goalkeeper off his line, and actually didn't really try to chip him, but shot. Mauricio Pochettino coming in the summer. See what he wants to do with Belgium. Might get himself a goal here, and still might. Virtually the last kick of this second leg. Inter are into the Champions League final.
Yeah, into the Champions League final. Former Trinidad and Tobago international Brent Sancho joins us. And Brent, no fuss, no serious alarms for Inter Milan, getting the job done quite comfortably. 2-0 in the first leg, and once again very much in control in this second leg, winning it by a goal to nil. It never looked in doubt, did it?
Yeah, and I think more surprisingly, Ricardo, is the fact that this is a derby game. When you think of derby matches, you think about Inter, AC, you think about, of course, Celtic, Rangers, Man United, Man City, and I can go on, Liverpool, Everton, and it just never looked or feel like a derby game. Much less the fact that this is the semi-finals of the Champions League, and a lot of that contribution to that non-factor is AC Milan, and I sat there thinking to myself, is it the fact that the quality that Milan does not present, they don't have to match in these sorts of games? Yes, I would say that they've done very, very well to get this far in the competition, but by no means. I mean, a derby game and just had no fizzle, no sizz, nothing in it. It was very drab, to be honest with you, and it's not really Inter Milan fault. They played their part. I think AC Milan was just very, very poor.
Right, and Brent, just to add to what you said, of course, AC Milan failed to score in 5 of their 12 Champions League matches this season, and I think that statistic speaks for itself. It's a team that got this far, but looking back now, you wonder how they made it this far.
Yeah, and look, they look very rudderless without Rafael Leao, who missed, of course, the first time. They look even worse, and this is a team that has Olivier Giroud, who I may argue is at a decent strike rate as it relates to scoring. And I don't think that the problem arises necessarily from just the forward line or the number 9s of the team, but I think it's generally in the middle of the park where they lack that real creative spark, that real ability in the middle of the park to of course, give the forwards the type of service that is necessary for them to win games. And if you look at AC Milan throughout the Serie A, they've been very up and down simply because they haven't been able to score goals at the rate that they should be scoring for a team of that caliber. So yes, it's been a disappointing 2 legs for them. I think though, however, they may look back and suggest that they've gotten that far and it's been success for them. But by me, I mean, to leave a derby game, a game of this magnitude and give nothing to show for it, was really disappointing.
Yeah, and if I were to describe what I saw from Inter Milan, I'd say, they were a gritty team. They did what they had to do to get the job done. Of course, scoring in 9 out of their 12 Champions League matches, Brent. And not to forget, we spoke about it at the top of the show, their defensive record. They were able, of course, to keep 8 clean sheets. So Inter Milan, and just to add, Real Madrid is the only other team in this competition that has scored more than Inter Milan. So, of course, I don't want this to happen, but if Inter Milan were to go up against Real Madrid, you would wonder which one of the team would come up trumps in the final.
There's only one team, that's Real Madrid. I think Inter Milan don't have. I mean, I hate making these sorts of pronouncements, but from the face of what we've seen over these 2 legs between Inter and AC Milan, there's no person involved in football would suggest that either Inter or AC, of course now it's Inter, has a chance in the final against Real or Man City. It's just a next level above. It's a next cut. It's a next level of ability, a next level of quality. Yes, Inter statistically looks good. I think they were very resolute in their defending, especially with the back 3, very organized in the middle of the park. They worked very hard. I like the word you use, gritty. It's something that you don't really, of course, put next to Inter Milan's name, but it was good in those sorts of situations. However, I think the next step that they take in the final will be a very, very difficult step for them.
Yes, I have to agree, about the difference in caliber of the teams that Inter Milan will have to face in the final. Brent, a lot of people describing Inter Milan, and I think it's a good tag, as underdogs, no disrespect. But do you think that can work in their favor? Because the Champions League final is a different stage. I know Real Madrid, they seem to have, unlocked the code where Champions League is concerned. But do you think being an underdog can work in their advantage?
Well, it gives you less pressure in the sense that the expectation of winning the trophy is not as much as a team that comes out of the draw between Real Madrid and of course, Manchester City. But once you cross the white lines, Mariah, the facts are the facts. And as a footballer, you see quite quickly that you will be facing superior quality, superior opposition. And of course, that comes into play. And the fact of the matter is, can they, of course, live up to that sort of thing? I just don't see it. It's going to be very tough for them.
Yeah, Brent, Lautaro Martinez had a big game today and the goal to boot. But even Argentina fans aren't sold on this 25-year-old. How good was he today, first of all? And how much trouble do you think he may give the opponents in the final?
I think from the form and drop off, and I think it's a good question, Lance, because Lautaro Martinez, I don't think there was a team in world football that he wasn't mentioned with or connected to as it relates to transfers. He was arguably one of the top strikers in world football, and he's dropped off significantly. Of course, injuries would have led to that. He had a poor World Cup, again injuries as well. He's starting to kind of find his rhythm again. But I still feel that he's way off from the standards that we set in the very, very beginning. And as it relates to the finals and the sort of challenges he may present, yes, he does have the pedigree to do well. But is he in the great vein of form that we've seen him before? No, he's not. Yeah, and
of course, in a moment we look at the other semi-final, which most people are interested in. But you did say from last week, Brent, that you didn't think AC Milan were good enough, and you repeated it this afternoon that they were quite fortunate to get this far. But is there anything that you're seeing from Inter that suggests to you that they could trouble the big guns who decide the other finalists on Wednesday?
I think defensively, the back three and Damian in particular, they've been outstanding in what they've been able to do. They've been very organized. They don't give up much. I think from that perspective, they're very well organized, Lance, in the middle of the park. But then again, they're coming up against two teams that are very, very good in the middle of the park, whether they face Real Madrid or of course, Manchester City. And I think where they'll come undone is the pace of both teams and attacking and pace in transition. And I think that's where I think Inter Milan may struggle. But that being said, there are some good parts there, and as we know, we've been watching this sport for a very, very long time. You can't just go out and say, well, all right, the winners of Manchester City and Real Madrid will win the Champions League. You have to respect your opponent, but it's just very difficult to see how Inter Milan can get past either one of those two teams.
Yeah, one thing is for sure, Inter Milan in a much better position than both Manchester City and Real Madrid at the moment. And Lance, you spoke about Lautaro Martinez. He has scored more goals for Inter against AC Milan than any other team. So there you have it. Inter into the final. That means one finalist down, with the other to be decided on Wednesday. Manchester City versus Real Madrid at the Etihad Stadium following their 1-1 draw last week. Manchester City's boss Pep Guardiola was questioned about how his legacy would be impacted if he not only won the Champions League with City but also secured the Premier League, FA Cup and UCL treble.
My legacy is already no, my legacy. Our legacy is exceptional already. So we have been here for many times already. So. We are not stupid to know how important is tomorrow's game. Is maybe one of the most important games since we are together here. We cannot deny that for the competition, for the rival, for many things. But I said to the players, so leave it like a huge opportunity. Enjoy the moment. How fortunate we are! We are incredibly lucky to be here. And it's in our hands. It depends on us. We don't have to do. I would say something exceptional. Just to do ourselves and win one game to reach the final. And we're going to give everything. We're going to do everything. I have an incredible feeling about the team, and whatever happened. I just thank you so much to them to bring us, all of us City fans, to be here.
As far as I'm concerned, Brent Sancho, that is a winning response from Pep Guardiola. My legacy is already exceptional. I don't think you could come up with a better response. What did you make of his response?
Excellent. You know, one of the things I hate in sports is that we try to define legacies with particular trophies and particular championships, etc. The body of work of what Pep Guardiola has been able to do, he has revolutionized the sport. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that he is one of the greatest managers that ever lived, and very few can question that. Yes, of course, you will always argue the fact that he has quality players in and around him, but what he's been able to do is consistently do well. The same argument we use when it comes to comparing players and the greatness of players is the same thing you would do as it relates to managers. You, of course, argue the fact of how consistently good they've been. The reason why we talk about Alex Ferguson is because he's been consistently good. And that's the fact. And I think what he's done, his body of work as a manager, yes, his legacy has already been cemented.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that point about his legacy already being exceptional and being cemented. But there still has to be, though, some amount of pressure to try and win the Champions League with Manchester City. Erling Haaland has come to the club largely to help to get that done. You're looking at the other side of the draw. You might not want to do it too much, but I'm sure they can't help look at the other side of the draw and you see Inter Milan in the final and you're thinking to yourself, this is as good a chance as any. Does he need to win the Champions League with Manchester City this season?
I don't think, well, not to cement his legacy. No, I don't think he needs to win it to cement his legacy. I think he has a terrific opportunity to win it because I think this is a better Manchester City team. In fact, I think it's the best Manchester City team I've seen under Pep Guardiola, simply because, and not just because of Erling Haaland. Yes, he's a factor, but when you look at their statistics defensively, they have grown tremendously as a football club. No longer they're a team that you can score on easily. No, they're a team also who can play on the other side of the game where they could grind out results. And they have a man up front, as I mentioned, and Erling Haaland, that scores for fun. So I think from a holistic point of view, Ricardo, this is an improved team throughout 1 through 11, and even the managers. I think Pep as a manager has improved drastically over the last 8 to 12 months as well. You can see tactically he's matured a lot and is maturing as he goes along. He's becoming very difficult to obviously try to predict, and the way he plays is very innovative. So yes, I think this is a Manchester City team at its best, at its peak, at its right time. And if they don't win now, yes, you will have to obviously question Manchester City, but I don't think necessarily you question Pep Guardiola and his greatness.
Yeah, interesting comment. Let's see what you'll say about that tomorrow, Brent, when Pep Guardiola comes up with one of his unpredictable moves and you're scratching your head wondering how on earth, where did Pep get that one from? Brent Sancho, thanks very much for chatting to us, and we'll be chatting again soon as we get to the business end. Well, we're at the business end as we get to championship time in the UEFA Champions League.
Thanks, guys. Have a great one.
All right, Brent Sancho, Mariah, Lance, who is winning this Champions League semi-final tie?
Manchester City. Was that a real question?
No, I expect you to be an analyst, not a fan.
But that's a real answer. Manchester City, I think we have seen one of the best seasons from them, and I think that they're going to use the momentum that they've had this season. That team has Erling Haaland, not to forget, he's the record goal scorer. They have Kevin De Bruyne, they have players that can step up. I saw an article on the Premier League side where they were talking about Ilkay Gundogan. Is that good enough as an analyst?
Ilkay Gundogan has been in fabulous form in the last couple matches for Manchester City in the Premier League. Whether he will be able to transfer that to the Champions League. The one thing though, Pep Guardiola seems to have a lot of trust and confidence in Ilkay Gundogan. So whenever they get into these big matches, you can be assured that he will be in the starting lineup. How do you see it going tomorrow?
I give City the edge. I give them the edge to win this because I think they are marginally better on quality. If you look at their roster and on form, I'm also impressed and would give them superior marks there. Having said that, I think Real Madrid goes into the match probably with more confidence because they have the know-how, they have the experience, they feel as if the Champions League belongs to them. Manchester City has blown and puffed and never won the Champions League before. So from a psychological standpoint, I think Man City may go into the match on Wednesday with some element of doubt because it is something that they have never done before. So if you look at it from that standpoint, then Real Madrid has the edge. But I think City is the better team, and I would give City the edge if I was betting.
Yeah, coming into this tie, I actually thought that City was the better team as well. And then I watched that first leg. I was intrigued by that game. A lot of cat and mouse games on the part of both teams, but I genuinely felt that for the most part Real Madrid had the better of that game, and before City scored the equalizer it could easily have been 2-0, and that might have put a completely different complexion on the tie. And yes, I know that they're going to be at the Etihad, but I don't think Real Madrid is scared to play anywhere in the world, and they will go to the Etihad Stadium with as much confidence. Believe it or not, I'm predicting a Real Madrid win. I can't believe I'm doing it, but I'm doing it, Lance and Mariah.
I won't fight you on that because my Man City selection is marginal. It's just marginal.
Well,
don't worry, Mariah, I can manage you, it's okay. Alright, still to come on the SportsMax Zone, we'll review action from the Indian Premier League where the Lucknow Super Giants completed a narrow victory over the Mumbai Indians. We'll also preview Game 1 of that blockbuster Western Conference NBA Final Series where the Denver Nuggets will host the Los Angeles Lakers. But right after the break, our in-house football analyst, the Jay Williams, will join us on set as we review quarterfinal first leg action from the Jamaica Premier League. Stay with us, more to come on the SportsMax Zone.